Let's bring my brother 19 Keys in. Let's start over one more time. All right, for everybody that's in the chat right quick, let me just say something right quick, right? So the reason why I invited my brother in here was because I was having a conversation a little bit earlier, and I was saying that over the last maybe 5 years of my life, I've grown and evolved so much. And I'm never really the man to talk about relationships because I haven't been in one since 2015. I've never been married, so I don't feel like that's my ministry. But one of the things I am good at is at being a leader of like a family. And I mean that from a perspective of co-parenting has been amazing for me. I've learned how to co-parent amazing with my daughter's mom, how to show up emotionally and be emotionally intelligent enough to be there for her and my little one. As coming from a man who watched his mama get shot, who actually shot somebody, who actually been to prison and did a slew of other things, emotionally, I wasn't available. So learning how to emotionally show up has been something that I have truly battled hard at, right? And so what I've noticed is also there's a gap, and I said this, and I didn't mean it in a way for women in a bad way. But what I am saying is the reason why we have so many women now in our culture who are independent women who actually are kind of fighting for the role in a household and don't really know how to show up is what happens is I feel like we haven't showed up enough, right? And because a lot of us haven't seen and been around those images, we haven't had anything to adapt to. We haven't had anything to show us, oh, this is the way, right? This is what it's supposed to look like. This is how a man is supposed to love on his son. This is how the man is supposed to greet each other. And so one of the things I also talked about was I wanted to at some point cultivate different a community for men. And I said a safe space like for men, but with masculine energy.
Yeah.
But also having a balance of emotional fortitude. And I said, one of the things I understand, like I've been in rooms before, like when I walk in the room, the first thing I'm head up, I'm shoulders back. You know what I'm saying? And that's that's my posture. And what happens is I've been around men and I've seen certain men energy shrink, right? And it's not that they probably do it purposely. It's they come up with their shoulders down. They don't know how to just always look a man in his eye. They don't understand that eye contact isn't threatening. It's actually a sign of mutual respect, right? And so I said that a person like who I know do it for sure, who learned it from the ground up was my brother 19 Keys. So what I want to do in this moment is me and you, let's have a little dialogue about that situation and let's give me your perspective on it. Let's talk about that, brother. And first, let me say before you come on, man, I honor you. I respect you. I admire you, right? Because I've seen you evolve, but stay true to yourself, right? In a world where everybody talks about how much money they have, I've seen you stand tall on being a man, right? And that's one of the things that me and you always politic and dialogue on is how do we peel back the layers of manhood and godhood, right? And so I want us to have that conversation for a minute, if you don't mind.
Man, thank you, brother. You know, you are a very empowering spirit. You know, I think that's the key to Wall Street trapper, man. He doesn't trap you at all. He frees you. The Wall Street freer, man. We might have to call it.
I have to change that.
The Wall Street freer, because you empower the spirit and you invigorate people with light and energy. You know what I mean? I was saying earlier, whether it's a 101, you got a stadium presence every time, man. You're a gladiator, you know what I mean, in the world amongst men, you know. And every time I talk to you and we have our private conversations, that's the feeling I get. I'm energized, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm gonna lead a conversation glowing with new energy and new power and new knowledge. And sometimes it's a reminder, you know what I mean? It's a rekindling of a flame that's already in you, but it's like, nah, let that shit shine bright, because you know the rest of the world, they trying to deal with the light you already have, so they ain't gonna tell you to increase it. So they like, I'm just trying to get used to it. They say keys is enough, and all you be like, man, let that shit roar. And That's what's needed, and that's what's needed amongst a lot of men today. A lot of men are taught to, you know, shrink, right? We taught to shrink and not take up space, right? And so one of my reverse messages is that no, if this is our world, you have to take up space because we shrink, and people talk to black men about, you know, you too cocky or, you know, things of that nature. You need to be more humble. And it's like, what does he have to be humble? There's 2 points to that, right? For black men in America, we need to be more confident, not humble, right? We need to be more confident, maybe less prideful in a lot of ways. We might not do the thing that's necessary because it doesn't cooperate with our pride, right? And our sense of self. We can let that go for the bigger picture, right? But we need to be more confident because that's what I see lacking. I see grown men from ages 70 down to teenagers, and when I speak to them, I'm like, man, pay your head up, bro. Like, be like a man, like shake my hand, like talk to me. When you don't tell me about things you trying, I don't want to hear about nothing you trying. Stop. Don't mumble your words when you speak to me before you even come through. You know, write it down or something. Tell me what you're doing, not what you trying. Nobody needs help to try to do anything, right? Only time you need help is when you expanding, when you growing, right? When you maintaining something great, but you don't need help trying nothing at all, right? If you're in that phase of life, do that by yourself until you get to the point where you're doing. Men that's doing something are the ones that need help. You know what I mean? They need assistance and growth, right? If you're gonna meet a woman, you say, baby, I'm trying to do this. Well, let me know when you start doing it and I'll help you. you know?
Right. Right.
Come back because she gonna be a distraction, right? Because then you're gonna be trying to make her happy and trying to do something at the same time. No, focus on your development. Now she can help you come multiply that what you're doing, right? And so me and your conversations, it's always about what we're doing in life, not what we're trying, right? It's about how can we make this better. We start sharing information and game on how can we expand, right, our atmospheres and our environments. And what I need is this resurgence of the general spirit and the soldier spirit. And both of them are necessary because you can't always be a general. Sometimes you got to be a soldier. The general is not the representation of the person. The general is a representation of the plan.
Okay.
Right? If you're not the one that has and here, you can be the best planner in your life, but let's say for the culture, society, somebody else may have a better plan than you. I'm a soldier for that plan. I like that. I'm gonna help this one commence, right? It may be a plan for the world. You know, how we gonna get the whole diaspora together? Well, shit, I ain't got it right now in my mind. You got one? All right, I'm a soldier for that plan, right? But then if I got the plan, then man, I need somebody else to be soldiers, or I need to link with other generals that have other plans that we can do what? A cooperation. That's where we get cooperation from. So we talk about unity, but what we really need to focus on is cooperation, right? As we deal with leaders, I have to cooperate because you have your own operation already. I can't ask you to come just submit to my operation when you already got something. We have to co-op, right? And so I think that that's where we start changing some of these words that traumatize us, which unity is a traumatizing word, right? Collaboration is becoming a traumatizing word. Partnership is becoming a traumatizing word. But let's focus on the process of those words, right? Solidarity. We don't use that enough at all. Coming together for a common cause, right? This cooperation, working together in unison with things. And we focus on the process of the words instead of the results. Now we get to a place where we can start building because we start focusing on the steps instead of the destination.
Man, I love that. I love that. Like I took so much from that. I think one of the things in me, I know one of the things that we always talk about, and I love that because it starts with a common respect amongst men. And I think one of the things that we lack as men, as black men specifically, because I've never been any other type of man, not saying that y'all don't have issues. I've only been a black man. But I think one of the things that I struggle with, and you always point this out to me, you be like, Trap, bro, you are so phenomenal, but your problem is you only know how to work by yourself.
Yeah.
Like you told me this. You like, Trap, your biggest issue. And you like, your biggest issue is, bro, like, you only know how to work with Trap. And because of that, you always standoffish. You all like this. And so what happens is, watch this, and I want everybody to understand this, is I am able to take that because there's a mutual respect amongst me and my brother, right? Because there's a mutual respect amongst me and him, I know that ain't coming at me in a way to harm me or talk crazy about me. He ain't trying to belittle me. He actually come to me in a way like, Trap, bro. Like, if I'm being real with you, brother, like, you super phenomenal in what you do. Like, it's like, even I gotta come get some inspiration from you because you be doing it. But your problem, Trap, you like to do it by yourself. That's your problem, right? And so for me, as I sit back, I'm like, I didn't fight. And I didn't fight it, one, because there was a respect. So one of the things I know that we have to work on is understanding that, right? Cultivating a culture of other men or images or forces around us that we, watch this, that we don't innately feel threatened by. Right? Like, and people can take the word threat wrong. People can take the word threat in a way of, like, so when a hyena by itself sees a lion, instinctively his mind says, this is a threat to me. Even if the lion just walking past, right? Even if the lion may see him, be like, bro, you know what it is between us. If you come a little further, we got action. But instinctively, this is a threat. So what happens for us is, because we've been in survivor mode so long, and what happens is our reality, 90% of the times is shaped on the experiences that we failed at or overcame. Right? So our reality. So for me, Trap, why do you like working alone? Why do you get close to people and then push back? Okay, cool. Well, let's talk about it. Well, there's some trauma that we got to unpack right there. Well, what's the trauma, Trap? Well, my mama went to prison when I was 13. I seen her get shot when I was 9. Okay, but we're not going to keep holding on to it, but we got to do, Trap. We got to unpack that. A female that I really love set me up. That's how I wound up going to prison for shooting a man. A dude that I was couple dudes I was really close to turned their back on me. Right? My first fight in prison was with 3 dudes who was from my hood who I thought I was cool with, and I had to fight them for 2 hours that night. You know what I'm saying? That's life on the line. That's survival mode. So the reason why I stay away from people a lot is because I am only a product of the experiences that I failed, that I overcame. I'm a product of that. And so what happens is the mind harbors those because the first thing the mind wants to do is save you. Right? Anything the brain has, the brain stores things, and the brain says, nope. Remember the last time we let our guard down with a person like that? Here's what happened. Let's protect ourselves from that. Right? And so once we identify, and I'm speaking, and it's cool for me to speak on it because I've now evolved, because I got a brother who I respect, and I say, oh, I'm so comfortable in Trap now. Over the last year, this the evolution. Well, Trap, I don't gotta be on defense, right? And because I don't gotta be on defense, I can navigate through life on an offensive way. I can still be passionate, but it can be from an offensive perspective and not trying to simultaneously do both, right? Like I can innately be offensive, and I only got to be defensive when I see an opposing threat. And so now the brain goes through a process now, once we start evolutionizing it, what becomes a threat and what's not a threat. You feel me? So now what happens is we start to now evolve on what we consider a threat. You know what I'm saying? So now I'm saying, okay, this is another man making money, another man being successful. Trap, that's not a threat. Okay, cool. All right. You having conversation with another man in a way where we building, it's okay. It's so unlike what Drake says, it's okay to have new friends because you got to get in new environments. That's not a threat, right? So as men, I understand that we got to be in situations where we start to peel back the layers and start to normalize that we are not threats that the music, the media, entertainment world has projected on us. So we got to be your beacon of hope. And then that comes with self-development, that comes with mental evolution, that comes with emotional intelligence, and that comes with environmental intelligence, understanding the environment we're in and being able to categorize the threat from the non-threat. Let me say this before you come on. It's like when I remember watching a movie, and it's like when planes or submarines, they can hear a beep in the ocean or a beep in the air. They can hear it. Now, to the naked eye and to the naked ear, every beep on the radar is a threat. But to the captain or to the people who are managing the radars, even though the beeps sound the same, instinctively, because they've heard it enough, they know the difference between a threatening beep and a beep that's just a fish passing by. So what we need to do as men is understand the difference between a direct threat and somebody that's just passing by. And once we can start accumulating that, man, we get so much better at evolving and sitting at the table with men and dialoguing with each other.
You said a lot. You said a lot that was really good in there. One thing I hear, there's the term violent communication and the term violent thinking, right? So once you become a violent thinker, everything is always in terms of offense and defense, right? You basically become a war thinker. Everything is violent, right? So now when you're thinking about this person, you're thinking, I got to be in defensive mode or I got to be in offensive mode. So it's like a preparation for attack, right? And that's not the way it's supposed to be. It's the same thing, and people get that way in conversations. It's like, damn, bro, you always responding like, you know what I mean? I'm trying to give you some good advice, but you responding so defensively, like it's an issue, but it's not. And as you said, it happens when your body, when your vagus nervous system is constantly heightened, right? Because here's the example. If you go into a jungle, right, and all of a sudden, you minding your business, and then you see a tiger come out of nowhere, you gonna freeze up because your body gonna say, wait the fucking minute, right? Hold on. Your whole body, your whole nervous system is gonna tell you to don't move.
Right.
Now, that tiger could be minding his own business, like you said, right? But imagine that tiger just stops and it looks at you. Your body gonna be like, yo, what do I do? Right? So your nervous system is gonna be flooding right now, right? And so if that tiger decides to just turn around and walk away, your nervous system's still gonna be heightened even when the threat is not there, right? So it's not going to be until you get to a place completely out that jungle, and sometimes it may not go away even when you out that jungle, that your nervous system is still heightened until you feel safe, right? And most of us never actually feel safe. So our nervous system is always heightened for the rest of our lives.
That's good.
So when I went to Ghana, it was one of the first times when my nervous system was able to relax. And I found myself feeling safe. And I said, what is this? You know what I'm saying? It was like, I knew the tiger was gone. I knew it wasn't no threat. I knew he wasn't coming back. I wasn't even worried about it anymore. That was a distant memory, as things are supposed to flow and fly off of you. But when we come from traumatic environments, and that's when when we start numbing pain, when things become numb to us, you get so many partners that have died. A friend of mine in St. Louis just died again. Every time I get news from St. Louis, there's another dead body. At some point in time, first time you feel it, it's painful. Second time, it's again. Third time, you don't feel that much. Fourth time, you start numbing it, right? What happens is that emotions get stored in your body, right? So now let's let somebody tap you or you jump because you have stored that within your body. It ain't disappear, but you start storing it because you numb to it. And so it's not until you actually deal with that pain that you're going to be constantly triggered by those things that you feel like you're numb to, but you're suppressing. So now when I look at I got a show in LA coming up this Saturday, and this is part of the conversation I want to talk about, because anytime I start talking to Black people about and brown people about the future, we have to talk about healing, because what I realize is we can have the greatest enlightening information, but if they can't heal, then their trauma is in the way from learning, right, and doing. So when we are, as men, when we, like you said, we have issues where people have been jealous, envy, have betrayed us, have been disloyal, that's trauma. So now all of that is in front of you talking. I hear you, but I'm filtering it through my trauma, right? So I don't hear you as much. I'm not hearing you from a place of, number one, these are the three factors that you know for a fact that you are in a better place. When you have rest, when you have joy, right? And when you have safety. So that feeling of safety, rest, and joy will let you know that you are healed. So now, because here's the thing, and joy comes from gratefulness. It increases the heart size and lets you intake more joy. So you can go and see a child in Africa joyful because they're just so grateful, right? But this rest is something that most of us don't get. And this feeling of safety in America, this is something we take for granted. Because even when, you know, when you're in poverty, you definitely don't feel safe, right? But then when you start getting money, you don't feel safe because you feel like somebody wants to take what you have. So in America, when does a Black man ever feel safe? In the last 100 years, when has a Black man had a safe space to feel safe, to speak about his ideas and his feelings and his emotions, right? We don't get that in our reality. You have to take care of business. You have to always be tough. You have to always do this, that, and the third. You don't get a chance to let your guard down. And the people around you, they don't always understand that feeling of safety that you need. And like the people around you creating a safe space for you to continue to be as great as you are is necessary. So, you know, we don't compare. Look, I see somebody saying, I feel safer here than the Middle East. Plus, you probably never been to the Middle East, and that don't matter. Your body don't know the difference between whether you're in the Middle East and the US. All it knows is your nervous system is activated, right? Because this is how the body works. So when you are in a state of trauma, people have PTSD after they leave wars, right? Because this is what they're used to, right? When a soldier is used to war, right? That's not where he get the PTSD. When he has to be reacclimated into society,
That's heavy.
that's when he starts to get triggered, right? And it's not until we start trying to let our guards down and try to enter into normal civilian society. And it's like, bro, you don't know this trauma I done been through. So now you getting triggers, you having flashbacks. The normal things that occur to some people may hit you. Now you got triggers of anger. Now you're going back to all of these places. Your nervous system is constantly saying that, no, man, be on the lookout for them, man. I don't know about none of this shit going on. You feel me? Like, you got to watch out. Like, you back in the jungle. You never know what's going on. In war, all of that makes sense. In war, those senses are validated by the real threat and danger that's immediate that you can see. But when the enemy is inside and the enemy is invincible, oh man, it's an even greater threat. It's a greater threat. So we have to heal from a place of, as you said, the issue that you have with a person presently, they didn't start that issue. That issue always started before them. It's like you having an issue with an ex and blaming the present person that you're in a relationship with that. They didn't start none of that shit. Maybe they can help you heal through it. Maybe y'all can heal with each other, but they're not responsible for your triggers. And this is the last thing I end off of. Nobody is responsible for your triggers. This is what you have to know. Oh, you triggering me. Well, heal then. Heal then. Because I can't trigger you if you heal. Nobody can trigger you if you heal. People can use it against you when they know what triggers you, right? Because they know you haven't healed from that, so they can bring up something in the past. And they can be like, oh, they can say a certain word, they know it's gonna get you, you will jump because your nervous system go jump. But when you heal from it, man, no, bro. You trying to trigger old me, man. I'm so past and evolved past that. I'll slap you for just playing with me, but I'm chill. I'm chill though, for real. You don't even know me no more to trigger me. So your healing, right, is your responsibility. It's no one else's. And that's something that everybody has to take into account. But everybody else can assist in creating an environment that makes it more comfortable for you to heal.
I think that's, man, you again, bro. That's why, you know, I don't think this is literally like our conversations on the phone with each other,
Yeah.
right? You said something that was dope when you said that a soldier doesn't develop, the soldier doesn't show the PTSD in the war. It's when he tries to adapt to normalization, right?
Yeah.
And so, man, that's so important. That's so amazing, because what happens is we become calloused to the, right. We become calloused to the trauma, right? And we think about calloused, right? We think about calluses is when you wear on something so much you build up this protective layer, right? What you then they gotta cut it off to get to the raw emotion of something. All my workout people, y'all know who we talking about right here, right? So what happens is we become so calloused emotionally, right? Because of what we've been through. And I do want to say this: what you've been through is 100% the reason for some of the ways that you have. But what you've been through is not an excuse for you not to deal with it, right? It's not an excuse for you not to deal with it, right? And so what I love about that was, so I was talking to my therapist the other day, and I love this, man. Like, that's why I think it's important for us to, man, talk, right? And especially for us, I feel like men, like we haven't been introduced, especially as Black men, to an environment that is conducive to our verbal healing, right? People don't understand that. And the reason why I say it like that is because now I'm gonna take it I'm gonna take it back for a second. Like, I always love this idea that when Jesus was in the wilderness and Satan was hitting him with the word, I can do this for you, I can do that for you. One of the things that Jesus ain't pick up a rock, he said, everything he said was, it was written. And he fought him with the word. And what happens is, even we think about the prophet Wallstreet, even when he was on his 40-day fast, 30-day fast, he ate the word. That's how he became better. Right? So what happens is the word in which that's why I said verbal healing, is because the words that we read and pray help us heal from within. But also the words that we speak either fertilize the trauma or the healing, right? The words that we speak out of our mouth, so we bear fruit from the word that we speak either fertilize the trauma or the word that we speak fertilize the healing, right? And so what I love about that is I'm talking to my therapist, and he told me something that it was like an aha moment for me. And he said, Trap, he said, you are such an anomaly in what you're doing, because your survival stress is actually the reason why you're successful. So I said, what? He said, normally people's stress is what keeps them from being from being successful. But you're such the opposite. You look for stressful environments because that is where you operate the best.
Yeah.
I said, what? He said, so what happens for you is this. Because you're successful, where you at now, you put yourself in stressful environments, meaning you take on a lot, you do a lot. You put yourself in situations where everybody else would run from, but the house is on fire, and you tell everybody, stay calm. And everybody around you is looking like, stay calm, it's about to burn. But you're like, nah, I got this, we good. And what happens is that stressful environment is how you keep yourself going. The problem with that, Trap, is your survival instinct as you get older, and because you're no longer in a real life stressful environment, is weighing down. And because it's weighing down, now you're trying to search for them, which is you try to isolate yourself, because in your mind, if you isolate yourself, that's a stressful environment, because you can always tell yourself, all I got is me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Yo,
You
listen,
recreate
listen.
in the atmosphere.
You are 100% creating the atmosphere that causes stress to most people, but that is how you survive. And the reason why is because of everything you've been through in your life. All you've known how to do is survive. And now your mind and your body and your nervous system has a mental Rolodex of, we can get through these. So in stressful situations where people are panicking and feeling overwhelmed, you shine. The problem with that is because you're not in a life-threatening environment. So he says the difference between being a life-threatening environment and then creating an environment yourself that is threatening. You are creating the threatening environment, and it isn't the same. So your natural survival mechanisms that activate in threatening moments, they're weighing down because they know it's artificial. Because it's artificial. So now what's happening with you is, now you uneasy with a lot of stuff. The reason why you uneasy is because you're searching for stressful environments and you can't find them. He was like, so what's going to happen now is, because we dealing with it and because we are talking about it and going through it, you now can find peace in your success and you can really thrive, because two things we are not made for. We're not made for, like you talked about, that stress. We're not made to thrive in high stress situations, and we're also not made to isolate. And because we're not made to do either or, this is what happens when men, when they get in their 40s and 50s, they start having midlife crisis, because they can't find a place to go to, and they don't know how to dwell in that space of peace. So I was like, yo, this is like, that alone made me say, yup, you the one. You know what I'm saying? So, and I'm
You
saying
got a
that
good
for
one,
us.
for sure.
So some of us, because, and I noticed this, bro, like I was in New Orleans, King, and this is when I realized, yep, he right. So I'm in New Orleans, and bro, I was there 3 days. In 3 days, a father burned down the house with his kids. A man rolled over his kid. 2 people got shot one day. The next day, 1 more person got shot. Immediately, I said, oh, I got to book a flight. I'm not even staying. I got to book a flight. I got to go. And I left. I called my daughter, Mom. I said, man, I got to go, man. I said, I'm about to come back to the age. She said, what's wrong? I said, man, my spirit ain't right down here no more. And I realized that as long as I was living in New Orleans, because I was so accustomed to that war zone, my keen senses was high. I was ready. I'm like, yo, what we doing? And so when I look at my homies who still down there, I'm like, yo, we way different. Now, we come from the same thing, but when you take a man or you take a person out of war and then they become domesticated in a way, and then you put them back in the war, yo, like they gotta either hurry up and adjust or they gonna get killed. They gonna get killed.
Yeah.
So for me, I was like, bro, you know what? I said, yeah, I'm about to go. Now I'm gonna come, I don't mind going home, but I realize I can't stay long, because what happens is so much is happening. So many people getting killed, so many people going on. And now when I go home, I'm always on my page in New Orleans, and all I'm seeing is death and burial and death. And it's starting to trigger me again. And I said, nope, I'm not doing this, because I am healing from this. You know what I'm saying? So, man, that was so amazing to just go back to what you said about the person coming out of the stressful environment is when he develops the PTSD, because now the adaptation to normalcy becomes hard. And I noticed that with people who've been to prison. When people go to prison, people be like, yo, why they keep going back to prison? Why they keep going back to prison? One of the things is, in prison, they probably somebody. In prison, they somebody. In prison, in that community of 3,000, 5,000 people, guess what? They got the best hands, or some of the best hands. They know how to communicate with the officers to get what they want. They know how to make things get smuggled in, so they have a sense of people need them, right? And now they not consumed by, you know, the people in the Bentleys and the people living in the big houses and the clothes. Everybody got the same thing on it. Now, who has the best ability to get survival things? I can get you certain things. I can get you this. You can't get that. Well, in the world, I don't need you to get me cigarettes. In the
Right.
world, I don't need you to get me, you know,
You don't
money.
know your value.
Yeah, I don't need you to give me tattoo ink in the world. I can go get that. And so what happens is there's a sense of from human nature, everyone wants to be valued and appreciated. And what happens is they go, and it may seem crazy, but people go where they're valued. So in prison, they are so valued, it's like, yo, this is where I'm gonna be at right here. And they cool with that.
I mean, we see that in domestic violence situations. You know, like it's the only it starts to feel like the abuse is a form of love. Because that if you're not arguing with a person or you're not hitting them, they think you don't care enough. They look at that as passion, right? So when we you know, we watch these podcasts, and people watch these podcasts a lot of times, not because it's helping them heal, because they bonding through the trauma, right? We got two ways we can look at life. We can look at 50% of marriages succeed or 50% of marriages fail, right? Normally, we talk about only one end of statistic. We always look at the negative, right? Now, somebody who is looking to succeed is going to look at, okay, what does the 50% that succeed do in order to work out, right? That's the spectrum of life that they on. They always looking for the positive. They looking for the forward moving, right? But then some people are looking to validate, right, their survival, to validate their trauma, to validate their stress. And what we don't realize as well is that some people, you may, let's say you're constantly finding yourself in the same type of relationship. And what happens is that, and this is a very interesting fact. So, you know, sometimes we don't want to be in boring relationships, right? But the reality of what you consider to be boring, right, is really peace, right? And because you're so used to being in constant state of trauma, right, you misconstrue boring for peace. I mean, you misconstrue peaceful for boring. So now you need somebody that give you these butterflies when you meet them and excite you, because what they're doing is they're giving you the same feeling of that last person that just hurt you gave you, right? But then when you meet somebody new and they're safe and they're peaceful, right, you may not get that same feeling because this is new to you. You've never had this before. So your body doesn't even know what this is, right? You're meeting somebody that's goddamn speaking to you correctly, and they're not gaslighting you, and they're not manipulating you. Your body not getting the same butterflies, right? Because your body is used to someone similar to what you had at first. So now you're like, oh, well, we had this before. This is gonna be like this. I get this. No, but when you heal, you realize that that same shit, those same people that used to excite you don't excite you no more. And now you need something that is in alignment with your healing, right? But when you come in an environment and you see your mother cursing out your father and things of that nature, right? You don't know what true peace is like. So you looking for environments to stimulate you because our trauma can be stimulating. We can become addicted to it, right? So now we need these environments that constantly put us in this state, right, of heightened sense, because this is what our bodies know. This is what we're used to, and it usually goes back to childhood. Think about your parents' relationship and their dynamic. So we don't know, and this is why a lot of women be talking about this man is boring. No, it's probably just peaceful, right? You know, you like look at the standard that they pushes you to go towards. Society pushes a lot of women to go for the trauma when she know that that's not right. But when it comes to somebody that's peaceful, you call them boring. It's not boring. It's a peaceful brother, right? That's a healing relationship. That's a good one. But they always say nice guys finish last because you are not the one inducing her trauma. You know what I'm saying? So you have to understand that society is so far away from being healed, right? And think about how we are as a culture, right? If we're not, I think J. Cole said it. He said all the people that's benefiting are racial stress, right? Like we'll go to somebody's page or we'll constantly be tapped in with somebody because they keep revalidating our sense of trauma. They keep stimulating us with this thing that we think we need because our body is used to it. So your body wants to go back into that state that you're used to, whether it's good or bad. So this is why a lot of people can sit down through what they call boring information, right? But when you know how to transmute the idea of boring and put something else, no, this is useful. This is a resource. This is money. So now you're changing the translation of what it means in your mind. But then somebody be like, no, I ain't trying to send somebody kick no knowledge. Where you even get that from? That don't come from you. You got to think about all the buzzwords that fly in your head that get triggered when it's time for you to learn, when it's time for you to be peaceful, when it's time for you to upgrade, when it's time for you to so-called change. All of these things in survival mode, it says keep the same, don't change shit. So now anything that allows you to break out of who you are because you carefully crafted this person and you're used to maintaining this person, you feel that's a sense of danger. So a person can try to teach you, and just because they're giving you new information, you go fight them. No, you're trying to change me, right? Not you're trying to upgrade me. You're trying to add value to me. You're trying to evolve me, right? You feel like same thing with people in religion, especially when people don't know their actual religious texts. When you challenge their faith and their belief, they feel attacked because they can't defend it. And this thing that they built up may have stopped them from smoking crack, may have got them from being addicted to sex, may have got them from doing whatever. And they're like, I can't give up this faith, even if I don't understand it. I just know that something has happened within this system that allowed me to be who I am. And the fact that you're challenging it, I wouldn't know what to do if it broke. I wouldn't know what to do without it. So they say, I don't want the truth. They want their truth, right? They want this thing that they're comfortable with. And anything outside of that that challenges their comfort system, it's a threat. So it don't matter if it's good, you are threatening. Now you're posing a threat to my survival. So once you can get people out of survival, they stop thinking immediate. They stop thinking in threats. They start thinking in opportunities, right? And then opportunities, you see growth. And opportunities, you say, okay, I need to learn as much as I can. You're in a much calmer state. You're in a receiving state. Like, yeah, like teach me. I'm ready to sit here and listen. I'll bow at the feet of the master to learn something, right? So this healing opportunity that we have in a culture, and this is the thing that we need to go through, period. I don't care who you are, where you're from, why you think you are, what place you in. We don't even want to spend money on things that are good for us because we are stuck in survival mode, right? Like, it's getting so bad. Think about this 1 second. Like, when we go to the club, we go do liquor, sex, whatever, a lot of different things that we do, right? If you work in a job, a 9 to 5, and because you're not really doing something that's connected, that's purposeful, you need to distract yourself when you get home alone because you don't want to spend time with those thoughts that's going to tell you that exact thing, right? So you need to constantly be in social environments that wrap your mind up with noise so you don't hear yourself, right? And so you need to go from the job to the club. But when you have an actual goal, right, you're not trying to distract yourself. You're trying to get focused. So most of our activities is based on our unhealed self. Most of our activities is based on survival. People go hit you all the time. What do you do for fun, Trap? Because they have a need to escape their life. But when you don't have a need to escape your life, then you're not always looking to plan an escape, which is what a vacation is for a lot of people, right? It's a plan of escape. A club is, I don't want to have to listen to myself. I'm in a club. I need to be constantly stimulated, right? And that becomes a danger, is this addiction to stimulation rather than peace and calmness. It's okay to sit at home. That's called peace. It's okay to not need to turn something on. It's okay not to talk to somebody. It's okay not to be in an environment. It's called peace. But when you're not used to peace, you need to be stimulated through trauma.
I was listening to that, and I be wanting to grab certain stuff, but I'm also enthralled in the conversation that we have. So I be trying to like write what I just heard and stick to it, right? So it can hit my brain. You said something that was real dope about people mistaking calmness and peace for boring.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's so, because now what happens is we are now what I just in reference to answer that, what happens from my perspective is people start to build these relationships with people so that the partner then becomes their sense of entertainment instead of it being a gratitude war, right? Right? And it becomes, you start to seek the other person for entertainment. Like you said, like we look for people, you boring. And I saw one of the queens in here said, nah, they got boring men, right? And whatever their perspective is, like I'm gonna be real with you, I'm a boring man, right? Like all I want to do is spend time with my family. I want to be educated. I want maybe travel here and there. You know what I'm saying? It takes, because I like experiences, because it was a lot of experiences that I didn't think was real. Like I went to,
Safety is boring, bro.
you feel me? So I may be looked at as boring, right? But what happens is I think people get this connection with people because in the beginning there's a huge endorphin spike, right? There's the new is always an endorphin spike, right? Whatever the new is. So you get that new car, it's an endorphin spike. And then what happens is after you rode in the car for a while, you don't have that spike anymore. You don't treat it like you did when you first got it. So now what happens is you search for another spike, and that can happen with a person. And now you want the person who you've made this agreement with, right? We know they're not boring qualities, but we're talking about how people can take them, right? And so what happens is that person now looks for this person to consistently feed them the endorphin. I need you to hit me with the dopamine. And if you don't hit me with it, I now have to seek excitement or the dopamine from somewhere else, not realizing that there can be an unsettlement inside of you. So now the idea now, at what prism do you view peace at? Right? What is your prism of peace? What is your prism of functionality? What is your prism of love? Because what I do believe that there's only one truth. And then what happens is people start to take the one, because truth can be absolute, but then what happens is people start to say stuff like, this is my truth. Right? Truth is an absolute. But what happens is we then start to cultivate an idea and make it fit for us. Like you can hear one word. Like here's the thing, we can see an accident. The accident happened. It's an absolute truth on how the accident happened. But then everyone who speaks on the accident then speaks from their perception or their truth. Right?
That's a fact.
Right? Now the accident happened one way. This is what happened. Boom. That is what happened. The idea now is who now has the job of articulating how it happened. And now we are saying this is my truth. And then I think that happens with people in life. And so we need to now dig into that. And I wrote down something else because you was talking, bro, like my mind go to going. I wrote something down and I said that we tend to avoid the things we haven't been exposed to. I wrote that down. And I wrote that down because you said something. You said we can be talking and somebody will be like, nah, man, I'm not about to sit there and listen to that. Right? What happens in that moment is, because I've never cultivated an environment, I've never been cultivated. I've never been incubated in an environment that says sitting down, reading a book for 30 to 45 minutes is actually one of the most productive things I can do. Right? And because of that, now every time I read the book, I go to sleep.
Yeah.
Because you haven't developed the muscle and you haven't had the exposure to that. So one of the things I do with my daughter is when she come home from school, Like, yep, she can go outside, she can do that. She got to do her homework. That's cool. But we cultivate an environment here where she has to read 30 minutes. You got to read it. 30 minutes. Let's go get a book out of the closet. You got to read it. It can be one of my books. It can be one of your books, but you got to read for 30 minutes because we need to cultivate that. And then there's days during the week, I'm like, yo, there's no TV, there's no iPad, there's no nut. And I let her know, you're not punished. This is not a punishment. What happens is I need to activate a part of your brain that disengages with the technology stimulant. Like, I need to disengage you from that. I need you to understand that there's grown people walking around that can't go 15 minutes without scrolling on this thing. So what I need you to do is, I don't need, because it's only going to get worse. So I'm pre-framing her for the future. And I'm saying, here, there's at least 1 or 2 days on this week where you can't watch TV at all. But notice that you're not punished. Right. We're going to take these 2 days, and these 2 days, what we're doing is we're going to cultivate in an environment that puts you in a situation that normalizes, yo, today I'm gonna read. Today daddy says I'm reading. And then what happens is I also engage, because what I do is say, okay, we're gonna read. Guess what? You're not gonna I'm not gonna let you read at the counter by yourself. Right? I'm not gonna let you do the homework and be by yourself. I'm not gonna tell you go in the room and just read while I'm sitting here watching the TV. What I'm gonna do is, daddy gonna turn everything off too. I'm gonna read with you. So I'm gonna be reading the book and you reading the book. So now this environment is normalized. So now what happens is, now we don't always gotta go outside of ourselves to seek that dopamine rush, right? And so now, again, as adults, what happens is we've only been reactive to everything that the world presents us. Right. And so what happens is we always are in the adapting mode. Okay, there's a new algorithm. I have to adapt to the algorithm. There's a new style. I got to adapt to the new style. There's a new way that people getting their haircut. I got to do that. And what happens is, because we're always in adapting mode, we never get in the offensive mode where we set the tone for our life. Right. And so I think as Black men, again, because I've only been a Black man, because I won't bring that back, I think it is imperative that we as Black men start to be more of the offensive and set the tone, one, for our lives, because self-mastery comes first, self-leadership comes first, self-development comes first, before we can be the leader in a household or a partnership or a father or a husband or a son. Like, if we don't develop as the men, if we don't develop as that. Now, I'm not saying that, you are, as the man of the household, you are, whatever. But what I am saying is, I do believe there's a role as far as leadership, right? There's a leadership role. And I think anything that you lead with, I think the woman comes as a great partner in helping cultivate it. But if we aren't cultivated first, like, I think that's what I've been at lately, bro. Like, I've been in that space where I have truly just been like, yo, let's just keep growing. Let's keep evolving. Let's face the difficulties that we have. And I think one of the things that we struggle with is, watch this, because it has never been okay in our culture to identify our own weaknesses. We've never truly sat back and identified our own weaknesses as men. We're always good at identifying the next man's weaknesses because we've always been in predator mode, right? Because we've always been in predator mode. We've always been in stalk mode. This is why we can see a man and be like, oh, he weak. Oh, he weak. I got him. Man, I ain't going to take it, right? And it's because we've been programmed in that environment to identify the weak and not be it, right? I won't be everything other than that weak man. So now I'm going out my way to, when I see you, I'm eyeing you down. And now I've changed that, but we eye each other down, not as a sign of admiration and respect, but we eye each other down, let you know I'm a threat, just in case you was thinking, yep, I'm a threat, bro. Just in case I'm with it. We can look at each other and be like, what's them? What was happening? shit, whatever you want that, boy. We don't even know each other, right? Instead of, what's good, King? Oh, what's good, God? How the God going? Hug. You feel the energy, right? Because we've now stepped into that different phase. So
Yeah,
I think for me, man, I've been evolving so much, and to bring it back, that's what this whole thing was for. I definitely wanted to just get you in as a man who I know walks in his God energy, right? Walks in his God energy, walks in his identity. I just wanted to say that, man. I got a dip. I'm about to head
yeah.
out.
I
Uh, I just,
appreciate it, brother.
I just wanted to have that dialogue, and I just
Yeah,
wanted people on here to know that y'all truly was just a y'all. I used y'all so me and Keys could have a conversation live, because I know this is what we do.
yeah. No, this was powerful, man. I took a lot of notes from it. One last thing I say is
Yeah.
don't for people, especially with the example you laid with your daughter, it goes through our life. Don't make peace a punishment.
Ooh.
That's when it becomes boring. When peace becomes a punishment, it becomes boring. Right? There is no such thing as boring. There's just peace. And if you replace that word, then you get to hear really what you're saying. You don't want a peaceful man. You don't want a peaceful situation. You don't want a peaceful environment. You don't want peaceful activities, right? This thing is too peaceful. But instead you said you don't want a boring man. You don't want a boring activity. You don't want a boring environment. You're replacing the word peaceful with boring as a substitute, because that's what your trauma is telling you, right? But once you really understand it and you start replacing that with peace, then you start seeking it. And in those states of peace is where you find rest. And in that state of rest, right, is where you get to find your joy, right? And that's when you at your highest level.
I want us to leave here with the word growth, right? Getting rid of weakness through habit. I
Mm,
want to leave us with that
mm.
word there, growth, right? I want to leave us with that word. I want that to be our word to finish the year, right? Growth, getting rid of weakness through habit, right? And what are the habits that we truly now have to cultivate
Ooh,
to make that happen? What are the habits that we have to cultivate? What is it? How do we create the habits that peace is no longer a punishment? Right? How do we create the habit that peace is no longer a punishment?